Good afternoon. Welcome to the Thurston County Board of County Commissioners meeting for Tuesday, May 11th, 2021. It is 2:01 p.m. My name is Ty Mentor, Chair of the Board. We have Vice Chair Commissioner Gary Edwards and Commissioner Carolina Mejia, as well as County Manager Mayor Chavez, Clerk of the Board Amy Davis, and Assistant County Manager Robin Campbell. Calling the meeting to order, we're going to begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led today by Commissioner Mejia.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We would also like to start today with a land acknowledgement. We would like to acknowledge the indigenous Salish peoples who have lived on and cared for the land and waterways of this county since time immemorial, and who still inhabit the area today, specifically the Squaxin Island, Nisqually, and Chehalis people, our sovereign tribal partners. I would entertain a motion regarding the proposed agenda for today's meeting.
I would move to approve the Tuesday, May 11th, 2021 agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Mejia,
Aye.
Commissioner Edwards,
Aye.
Commissioner Menser.
Aye. Motion carries. Agenda is approved. I would entertain a motion regarding the board meeting minutes from May 4th, 2021.
I would move to approve the board meeting minutes from May 4th, 2021.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Mejia,
Aye.
Commissioner Edwards,
Aye.
Commissioner Menser.
Aye.
Thank
Motion carries unanimously. Board meeting minutes are approved. Next is a presentation, a proclamation for National Police Week. And I believe,
Yeah, I believe is Sheriff Nazas join us today, this afternoon, with Under Sheriff Ray Brady. And I will ask to come up to the podium. Sheriff Nazas,
okay, great. They're in the
share
board.
some words.
Good afternoon, Commissioners, and thank you for having me here today. National Police Week started off by President John F. Kennedy in 1962, acknowledging the sacrifice that men and women have put themselves in front of and the ultimate sacrifice of serving their communities. And this week is to honor those individuals who have given the ultimate sacrifice. And I just want to say to all of you, thank you for recognizing that. And I really appreciate all your support that you've given in the past for our law enforcement in this county and throughout the state of Washington. So I just want to say thank you very much.
Thank you.
Chair, could I ask the speaker a question?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Sheriff, how is that young lady, your deputy, doing?
Deputy Moore, so kind of go back a little bit about the sacrifice the men and women make every day serving our communities. She was seriously injured, and as to date, she is doing well. She is actually an inspiration to all the men and women in the sheriff's office and to law enforcement agencies around this state because of her strength and her willingness to stand up to the fight against people who are trying to do harm, not only to our citizens, but to our law enforcement. And I don't want to minimize her stature, but she's 5'2" and all about 110 pounds. And that individual is every bit of 6 foot and 250 plus. And she was able to win the fight. And she's doing great, and I really appreciate you asking about her. And we're really looking forward, and she really wants to come to work as well. So it's really an inspiration to all of us.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much, and I really appreciate the acknowledgement. Thank you.
Thanks, Sheriff.
Ray, were you going to say anything?
No, I'm not. Thank
You're
you,
not,
sir, for
huh?
having me. I
Okay,
appreciate it.
well,
I was so eloquent, I'll leave it to him.
man, a few words, okay.
Commissioner Mejia, anything?
No, I'd just like to thank our men and women who serve, and also for those of officers that have retired, like Commissioner Edwards and my mother-in-law. You know, thank you so much for your service that you provide to our communities and keeping all of us safe.
Thank
Commissioner
you,
Edwards?
thank you. No, I'll do the proclamation when you're ready, sir.
Okay, yeah, I just want to say thank you as well to the sheriff, undersheriff. You guys have had a, like everyone, but maybe especially, you've had a challenging environment in 2020 with COVID-19 protocols, with civil unrest, you know, and lots of unusual situations in the community over the last year. So we appreciate your flexibility and continued vigilance to keep the men and women of Thurston County safe. So appreciate you. Commissioner Edwards, go ahead with the proclamation.
This proclamation is for National Police Work as a week. As the sheriff mentioned, President Kennedy back in 1962 started this. So whereas in 1962, President John F. Kennedy proclaimed May 15th as National Peace Officers Memorial Day, and the calendar week in which May 15th falls as National Police Week. And whereas this week has been allotted to honor the service and sacrifice of those law enforcement officers who lost their lives in the line of duty, and those who continue to serve and protect our communities and safeguard our democracy. And whereas there are approximately 800,000 law enforcement officers serving communities across the United States, including the dedicated members of the Thurston County Sheriff's Office and the police departments of the cities of Olympia, Lacey, Tumwater, Yelm, Rainier, and Tenino. Whereas law enforcement officers are the first line of defense against crime and risk their own lives to save and protect the lives of all people in our communities. And whereas the law enforcement profession has become increasingly more complex, posing greater challenges than ever before. And whereas, according to a report from the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial Fund, as of December 31st, 2020, 264 federal, state, local, military, and tribal law enforcement officers died in the line of duty in 2020. And whereas 145 of those that were lost died of COVID-19, which they contracted while on duty serving their communities. And whereas this serves as a stark reminder of the level of dedication and commitment of our law enforcement officers, and whereas all law enforcement officers who protect and serve our communities deserve our utmost respect and appreciation. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the Board of Thurston County Commissioners hereby proclaims May 9th through May 15th, 2021 as National Police Week in Thurston County, and urges all people to join in this observance. Adopted this 11th day of May, 2021, your Board of County Commissioners. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Edwards. Appreciate that. Okay, it's time for our opportunity for the public to address the board. The Board of County Commissioners welcomes comment at our Tuesday afternoon meetings. There are some guidelines governing such comments. When you're called, please introduce yourself, including the area of the county in which you reside. I'll give the person who's, assuming I get a sign-up list, I don't have one in my hand at the moment, but if I had a sign-up list with multiple names, I'll give the second person who's on deck and allow opportunity for sanitizing the podium and microphone between speakers. Silence your cell phone. You'll have 4 minutes. That time may not be donated to any other speaker. You cannot donate that time. The board reserves the right to restrict a person's opportunity to speak for good cause. The board will not respond directly to public comment, but there may be follow-up on an as-needed basis. No comments that are lewd, offensive, inflammatory, defamatory, or discriminatory in nature. Please be respectful. No comments that are commercial in nature, such as promotion of a for-profit business. No comments concerning pending land use permits that may come before the board on appeal. No outbursts of any kind. I believe that covers it. And then all written materials that are provided to the board may be considered public records and subject to disclosure pursuant to the Public Records Act 4256 of the RCW. So with that, I've got two names on my sign-up sheet. First is Paula Holroyd, and the second on deck would be John Pettit. Ms. Holroyd.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I come to you today as the chairperson
Can you,
of the League of Women Voters of Thurston County.
ma'am, can you lower the microphone a little bit, please?
I wish I
Perfect.
could make myself taller. I come to you today as the chairperson of the League of Women Voters of Thurston County Water Study Committee. We started this study in late 2017 as an update to our 2008 study. The coronavirus has slowed us down. We are now able to move forward. This is just an update of the status. We will begin writing this year. Some things haven't changed much. 70% of our earth is covered with water. Only 1% of that water is potable. Yes, we have water. No, we don't have water. Both statements are true. We can drill for water. We can drill deeper for water. The more we drill and the lower the level of our aquifer, the further our streams are from flowing water. Gaza and the freshwater aquifers had freshwater aquifers for 4,000 years. By drawing down too far, saltwater backfilled their aquifers. The freshwater of the Salton Sea was diverted for multiple reasons. Now all that reaches the Salton Sea is polluted farm runoff. The total amount of water on Earth does not change. The GRACE mission satellite tracks the movement of water across our planet. Wetter areas are getting wetter, drier areas are getting drier, just like Olympia. Nearly half of the water is used for irrigation comes from groundwater. It provides 20% of the world food supply. Groundwater is disappearing in California. California groundwater took thousands of years to accumulate. The water is being used much faster than it can be replaced. This is the definition of unsustainable. The assumption that since the water is coming out of the faucet, we have water is false. Fortunately, there are numerous recent studies that explains what is happening in our groundwater system. Historically, beavers built dams that slowed water, caused ponds, and allowed our aquifers to recharge. I am extremely impressed with the commitment and efforts of so many to restore salmon habitat, water flow, and aquifers. Our canary in the coal mine is our salmon. When we pump water out of the ground, we lower the upper level of our groundwater. Like drinking water out of a glass, there's still water in the bottom. The salmon need the water level at the top of the aquifer in order to have water in the streams and rivers. To sustain our salmon, we must recharge our groundwater with stormwater retention and filtration ponds. Protect our wetlands, forests, and stop pollution of lakes and streams. We are getting a late start. There are more than 40 outflows from roads and highways into the Deschutes River. The trends in Thurston County Water Resource Monitoring Report are going in the wrong direction. Remediation is urgently needed. Projects to protect and store every drop of water we can for the next 7 generations must be a top priority. Water issues from groundwater protection to agriculture runoff, the Safe Water Drinking Act, have energized league leaders, especially at the local levels, for decades. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. John Pettit is up next.
Mr. Pettit, buena clean day.
And then we'll do a call in the boardroom and on the Zoom and through the conference line.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is John Pettit. I live on Rich Road in East Olympia. I have written several emails to all of you, and just before the meeting time, I did drop off an additional document for your review and consideration. I can't be that quick. Okay.
All right, so, no, go ahead, you have 3 minutes and 56 seconds, sorry.
The document I dropped off it has to do with city code, but first, let me go ahead and talk a little bit about my position. The item that I'm going to give primary attention to today is item number 8A on your agenda, which is to approve a letter of intent for the idea of potentially leasing a facility at 3000 Pacific Avenue. Now, the atrium, I have been trying to bring information to you regarding this property for quite some time. In fact, I was insistent finally that we get some truth about how many parking places are actually available. Parking is a main consideration for any use of a property. In this particular case, up until about 5 hours ago, as far as any of you knew, there was 330 parking spaces. You made a lot of decisions. You even showed off the building, the facility, and everything based upon the assumption that it would meet the standards and requirements that you needed to have to perhaps move forward. I'm going to encourage you to pause your process, put this decision off until you get some more facts. But when I heard the county manager kind of review this and suggest parking was adequate, well, right now they claim there's 276 spots. You're going to have 280 employees. You need 30 spaces for county vehicles and 65 spaces for public parking. Well, you only have 276 spaces, which you take the 95 away because that's not a negotiable item. That would mean you'd have 181 spaces for 280 employees. So 64% of your employees would have potential available parking. That's not any standard that is acceptable. Now, I dropped off a document to you because I wanted you to actually realize that all the great efforts in the world, the document I dropped off is actually a document which is a part of the Olympia City Code regarding parking, vehicular, and bicycle parking standards. You will find on page 3 of there, I made a little notes underneath it, but government offices require 3.5 spaces per 1,000 square feet. That would mean that you'd have to have 315 parking spaces in order to meet code requirements for that building to be used for a government office facility. Lacking that, you're wanting to move forward against the city codes for use. Are you prepared to go ahead and openly take action to break city code? Just because you presented something doesn't always make it true. So you need to consider, if you're supposed to have 315, the city basically should shut it down based upon violation of the parking codes. You shouldn't be going anywhere forward until all things are cleared and meet the standards that are required. Now, I realize I've had some discussion about some other costs and everything. I see you've addressed a little bit of those issues. Some of those issues still don't work very good. That's because I've been watching and viewing. This is part of what I do, is commercial leases. So I'm aware. And so I'm going to just kind of close because I don't have much more time, if any. But I want to encourage you to think, instead of spending like $2,000 or $3,000 a year on maintaining each one of these 3 buildings here, maybe you could, instead of spending $7 million on a piece of private property for tenant improvements, you could spend that $7 million right here on the Thurston County Courthouse complex and start getting it in condition, which is part of the requirements of your position. Thank you.
Greg, you'd like to testify? No. I don't have anybody else in the boardroom. Let me check the Zoom. I don't have anybody on the Zoom meeting. Let me check the conference call. Good afternoon for those members of the public who have joined us via conference call this afternoon. If you would like to provide public testimony, please unmute yourselves, introduce your name, where you reside in the county. You have 4 minutes. None, sir.
Thank you, Ramiro. I'll let you get seated and then we will proceed with item 2, the county manager's update.
Yeah, thank you. Commissioner, I'd like to follow up to a public testimony you received back in April 27th from Ms. Remy Storm. She provided verbal testimony, but she followed up with specific questions that I'd like to address that today. One of those questions, one of the many questions she had was related to the Thurston County Jail. As she stated, it was a debacle between 2004 2010, and she stated that it remained empty for 5 years. And also she asked the question whether we have the ability to pay the bonds related to that particular endeavor. And related to that question, the certificate of completion received from the city of Tumwater for the work release unit, which is the last part of the construction of that facility, was issued on March 19, 2013. Corrections and the sheriff's office moved into the building in the summer of 2015, 2 years later. Bonds to build the corrections facility have been are being paid by the detention sales tax using existing revenue sources. There was not an increase in taxes to pay for the construction. She also made a point whether the county has ability to pay the current $45 million debt that we currently have related to bonds. And the response to that is the current county debt is approximately, in fact, $45 million will be paid from various county funds. The payment schedules are locked in at the time the county issues the bonds. So we need to find a way as to how we have the revenue to pay those bonds when we issue the bonds. Each of those funds has or will have sufficient revenue to make payments without raising taxes or fees. As you know, according to Moody's, the county has a very high debt load, and there's no risk of not being able to make payments on the current bonds. And in fact, you authorized to the assistant county manager to look for opportunities as to how we can refinance those bonds to get a much better interest rate. Mr. Storm also made a point as to why we don't use some of that money to pay for Medic One, and perhaps how we can probably use the American Rescue Plan to use for Medic One cost, and without going to the voters for their support. The response to that is the levy pay for operations cost of Medic One is not related to the payment of bonds. No bonds will be issued to pay for Medic One cost. No part of the levy will be used for debt service. No portions of the county current bond payments may be paid with Medic One funds. That is an authorized revenue source for a specific purpose if the voters approve on August special election of 2021. And lastly, the American Rescue Plan, the $54 million the county is scheduled to receive, are for COVID-19 recovery, may only be used to respond to the COVID-19 emergency. Ongoing operational costs of Medic One are not eligible uses for the recovery funds. So I'd just like to circle back on this, on the feedback that you received and the follow-up written comments that she had. And that's all I have for you for now. Any questions?
Questions, Commissioner Mejia,
Not at this time.
Commissioner Edwards?
Not at this time.
Robin, did that cover it pretty well? With respect to the debt and the bonds, okay, very good. Let's look at the consent item. There's only one today, 3A. Is there a motion regarding consent item 3A?
Yes, I would move to approve the voucher list for the week of April 26, 2021 for a combined amount of $3,423,913.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Mejia? Aye. Commissioner Edwards?
Aye.
Commissioner Menzer?
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, item 4 today is under Commissioners, Bald Hills Fire District 17 annexation.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioners. As a matter of background, Fire Protection District number 17 is a municipal corporation in the state of Washington and is organized under Chapter 52.02 of the RCW. In accordance to RCW 5204-031, Fire District number 17 received 2 petitions to annex 2 areas. The properties are known as the Clearwood and Bald Hills into their district. All owners involved in those properties have signed a petition and to be included in the annexation. Each of the owners that signed the petition acknowledged and accepted that upon annexation, their property will be subject to district tax levies. The Board of Fire District Commissioners on May 14, 2020 adopted a resolutions number 20-05-01 and 20-05-02, accepting the annexation petitions and scheduling a public hearing and invoking jurisdiction before the Boundary Review Board in accordance to RCW 52.04001. On June 11, 2020, the Board of Fire District Commissioners, in accordance to RCW 52.04041, held a public hearing regarding the annexation, and no comments and oppositions were received. The proposed annexation was then reviewed by the Thurston County Boundary Review Board, who rendered a decision on September 11, 2020, approving the annexation into the districts, the areas known as Clearwood and Bald Hills. If a Boundary Review Board has had its jurisdiction invoked on the proposal and approves the proposal, the county legislative authority of the county within this territory, where the territory is located of this annexation, exercise their authority granted RCW 52.04011, parenthesis 2, and record the such assumption of indebtedness by the owners of the property of the annexation area. In October 8, 2020, the Board of Fire District Commissioners, in accordance to RCW 52.04051, adopting resolutions number 20-10-01 and 20-10-02, annexing the real properties described as Clearwood and Bald Hills. That resolution was submitted to the Board of County Commissioners. And the resolution before you is to accept and approve this annexation, and as a result, you authorize for those properties known as the Clearwood and Bald Hills to be levied by the Fire District 17 for now and in the future. Any questions?
No, sir.
Commissioners.
Maybe for the public's knowledge, we went over that pretty heavily this morning as well, if they're interested. Thank you.
Commissioner Mejia, anything?
No, sir, sorry.
Okay.
My microphone was off.
Noted. Is there a motion?
Yes, sir. I would move to approve a resolution providing for the annexation to the Bald Hills Fire District 17 per RCW 52.04.051 of the parcels of Bald Hills Road and Clearwood.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Call for the vote.
Commissioner Mejia? Aye. Commissioner Edwards?
Aye.
Commissioner Menzer?
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Brings us to item 5A, Puget Sound Partnership / Alliance for a Healthy South Sound Contract Amendment.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner. Jennifer Davis, our planning manager, is going to walk you through this scenario. This particular action for you to consider is not to increase the cost of the agreement that we have with the Puget Sound Partnership Alliance, but rather it's just moving money from one task to another. And the reason as to why this comes before you, under our county's procurement policy, requires that any changes between tasks of money allocated to different tasks where federal funds is involved, we need to come before the board. So that is the reason as to why you see this particular item before you. Jennifer?
Thank you, County Manager. Jennifer Davis, Community Planning Manager. Yes, as the county manager stated, I mean, this is a minor amendment and it is rather unusual that it would come to the board. It's due to the nature of this particular contract that the department was advised to bring this change to you. And the change, again, has no overall impact on the contract budget. It is shifting $3,900 from the management and coordination tasks, where we found some efficiencies over the past year, largely due to the COVID pandemic and how, meetings and operations were conducted, and shifts that money into the implementation tasks. So this makes more funding available for implementation of Puget Sound recovery projects. And we're hopeful that in future iterations, the department can handle minor shifts among tasks ourselves. And we'll also discuss that with you when the entire contract comes back to you for its annual renewal in September of this year. And happy to answer any questions.
Commissioner Mejia?
No, sir.
Commissioner Edwards?
No, sir.
Me neither. Thank you, Jennifer. Is there a motion?
Yes. I would move to approve the contract amendment with the Puget Sound Partnership regarding Alliance for a Healthy South Sound funding and authorize the Director of Community Planning and Economic Development, or designee, to execute any subsequent amendments that do not increase the contract budget.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Call for the vote.
Commissioner Mejia,
Aye.
Commissioner Edwards,
Aye.
Commissioner Menzer,
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Next is 5B, also under Community Planning and Economic Development, Chehalis Watershed Management Plan Addendum. And Caitlin Nelson is here. And Ramiro?
Thank you, Commissioners. This is, yeah, thank you. Let me take you back to maybe 3-4 years ago when the Hearst decision was imposed here in the state of Washington, which limited the use of water generated by individual wells. The legislature, a couple of years later, passed the Stream Flow Restoration Act, also known as the Hearst Fix, which included WIRAs here in Thurston County as to ways to mitigate the issues related with the Hearst decision. In this particular case, for your consideration is to approve and adopt the WIRAs 22 and 23, which is related to the Chehalis plan. Kaylin is going to give you additional history as to how we got to this point. And again, it's a long, long ways to where we are right now. So, Kaylin.
Thank you. Some of the more recent history, the Washington State Department of Ecology issued an order adopting the Chehalis Watershed Management Plan Addendum on January 28, 2021. The board had previously reviewed the plan on November 4th, 2020, and direction was provided to vote to approve the plan with the Chehalis Basin Partnership on November 17th, 2020, where the partnership unanimously agreed to approve the plan. The addendum meets the requirements of the Stream Flow Restoration Act to plan for future permit-exempt well water withdrawals and maintain stream flows and water availability for all users in the upper and lower Chehalis watersheds. Adoption of the resolution supports Thurston County Strategic Initiative number 7 to balance development with the preservation of the county's rural character, natural areas, and open spaces. And after adoption of the plan, the Chehalis Basin Partnership will continue to meet and implement the plan when opportunities arise to do so. Can I answer any questions?
Any questions for Caitlin? Commissioner Mejia?
No. No
Commissioner
questions.
Edwards?
No, sir.
Nope. Okay, I don't either. And so is entertain a motion.
I would move to approve the resolution to adopt the WIRA 2223 Chehalis Plan Addendum.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Call for the vote.
Commissioner Mejia,
Aye.
Commissioner Edwards,
Aye.
Commissioner Menzer,
Aye, motion carries. Thank you, Caitlin. Information technologies next, item 6A. is professional services agreements for ERP system.
Thank you, Commissioners. For your consideration today, this item is for you to approve getting into a contract with Government Finance Officers Association, also known as GFOA, for $250,000 to help us in the implementation phase of the Enterprise Resource Planning, also known as our ERP. Dennis Osorio is going to provide additional perspective on this, our IT Director.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Dennis Osorio, IT Director. So I'll take you back a little bit. In December 2018, the Board of County Commissioners approved the Assistant County Manager at that point to execute the contract with the Government Financial Officers Association to assist the county with the ERP RFP request for proposal and gathering requirements. During the past few years, that the services that we've received from GFOA have been invaluable. They've helped us gather requirements, published RFP, review proposals, schedule vendor demonstrations, and pick the system that best meets the county's needs. As the county moves forward into the next phase of this project, the stakeholders in the group would like to further leverage GFOA's services and experience for the project oversight over the next 12 to 15 months. GFOA services will provide a lead for contract negotiations, change management, project management, as well as review milestones and invoices. These services will allow successful implementation of one of the largest technology projects the county has undertaken to date. Today, we are asking for authorization for the total contract amount of $250,000 and to waive competitive bidding. The funding for this project will be from general obligation bonds and the IT large application reserves. Any questions?
Commissioner Mejia,
No questions at this time.
Commissioner Edwards.
No questions. Just let the public know that we've been kicking this around for quite a while. Thank you.
This is a project that has been on track since the day I walked into this office, and probably for a while before that. So these are major steps and milestones along this process. So with that, is there a motion on 6A?
Yes, sir. I would move to waive competitive bidding requirements and approve the professional services contract with Government Finance Officers Association for $250,000 and authorize the Information Technology Director to execute the contract and any amendments that do not exceed 10%.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded, and I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Mejia,
Aye.
Commissioner Edwards,
Aye.
Commissioner Menzer,
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. And we have a related item under 6B, which is Enterprise Resource Planning System contracts. Again, Dennis, walk us through this one.
Absolutely. So this is, as you said, this is related to the GFOA services. GFOA will be running as almost a quality assurance, but this is the actual project. So Thurston County is currently using outdated systems to support its core financial and payroll functions. The current software was put in place nearly 20 years ago. I believe this started in 2016 when IT department did a full audit of all of those core systems that needed to be replaced. In 2018, stakeholders group was assembled and led by the County Auditor's Office, Human Resources, the Budget Office, and Information Technology to identify payroll, financial and payroll functions that need to be modernized. I would like to say a little bit more on that. It wasn't only those offices and departments. We had representatives across the county in all offices and departments that helped gather these requirements for this project. Stakeholder group worked for about a year to identify specific needs and requirements for a replacement system. And we worked with GFOA to assist during this process. As a result, we released a comprehensive RFP in July 2019. We hosted the RFP. We received 9 proposals. In September 2019, the stakeholder group partnered with GFOA and evaluated the proposals and narrowed them down to the top 3 vendors. After each of those were invited to on-site to provide functional demonstration. After evaluating the demonstrations, the team narrowed the selection down to the top 2 vendors, Oracle, Sierra Cedar, and AssetWorks, and Workday and Collaborative. These 2 vendors were then invited out for another day, which we were able to talk to both the implementator and the implementation team and the vendor to see which would be a best fit for the county. As GFOA collaboratively walked us through this, we came up with the top vendor. This is the request to ask for the authorization to implement the chosen system proposed by the multi-vendor partnership. The following vendors will be included in the implementation. So Oracle Systems is the core software that will be utilized. That has a cost of $1,840,284. Sierra Cedar will be the vendor that will be the consultant that will specialize in implementing the Oracle system and configuring it tailored to the county. That cost will be $3,925,000. And AssetWorks will be the vendor that will be supplying the fleet management portion of the solution. And that cost will be $705,240. The total contract amount for all the above vendors is $6,470,000, $524. Sorry, $6,470,524 and that's over a 5-year term. The funding for this project will be from general obligation bonds and the IT large application reserves. Sorry, that was a mouthful. Multiple vendors in this project.
Commissioner Mejia, questions on this item?
No, sir.
Commissioner Edwards?
No questions, but thank you, Dennis, for stumbling a little bit on those numbers because they make me choke as well. No, long time going, like Dennis pointed out. This is an old system, and this fix has been in the works since 2016. And if it seems excessive, you're probably right. It seems excessive to me as well, but it is the cost of doing business. And Brian's been there all the way through, I guess. So if you have any questions, ask him maybe. Huh? But I'm prepared for a motion, sir, when you are.
I'm prepared.
I would move to approve 3 contracts for an enterprise resource planning system with Oracle Systems for $1,840,284, Sierra Cedar for $3,925,000, and AssetWorks for $705,240 for a combined total of $6,470,524 for over a 5-year term, and authorize the Director of Information Technology to execute the contracts and any amendments that do not exceed 10%.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Call for the vote.
Commissioner Mejia,
Aye.
Commissioner Edwards,
Aye.
Commissioner Minzer,
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Dennis and Brian. Okay. Public Works is next with item 7A, contract award for solid waste facilities SCADA system upgrade.
Thank you, Commissioners. This item for your consideration is to award a contract to upgrade the system that we have at the work, and that is the Waste and Recovery Center, where we receive the refuse, solid waste from across the county. And this particular item will help us expedite and streamline that process. Don Ashton from Public Works is here to walk you through this item.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Dawn Ashton, Procurement and Contract Specialist, Public Works Finance and Asset Management Division. Public Works is requesting the board to approve a contract for the solid waste facilities supervisory control and data acquisition upgrade, project number 91726, to Northeast Electric LLC of Woodland, Washington, in the amount of $1,015,746.73, and to further authorize a 10% contingency for unforeseen conditions, resulting in an aggregate amount of $1,117,321. The existing SCADA system is used for data acquisition, monitoring, and reporting of system-related information at Thurston County solid waste sites. This project is designed to upgrade the system with more efficient components, appropriately sized technology, integration of existing points into the system, and capacity for future system growth. We received, Thurston County received on April 9, 2021, 3 bids in response to the call for sealed bid that was posted on February 25th. They were advertised in the Olympian and the Seattle Daily Journal of Commerce and posted on Builders Exchange. The low bid was received from Northeast Electric LLC.
I'm sorry, I'm having issues with her.
Your microphone might be going out, Dawn.
Oh, okay, let me,
There's some feedback in there, yeah.
okay, let me hold, is this better?
Still the same, but
I need to get one of those better headsets. Okay. Sorry. All right. Is this better?
not really, but go ahead and finish that.
Oh, sorry.
We'll work it through.
Okay. All right. Sorry, lost my spot there. The construction costs will be paid from solid waste tipping fees. The project will upgrade the SCADA system to operate within regulatory guidelines at the WARC. The scope of the construction project includes fabrication, installation, and testing of control panels, modifications to existing control panels and the existing electrical distribution system installation, and testing of wireless communication infrastructure, programmable logic controller programming, and other technical work required to upgrade the system. The project is in the 2021 Public Works budget, the 2021 through 2026 Capital Facilities Plan, and is in alignment with the county strategic plan initiative number 8 to support robust and well-maintained infrastructure systems for a thriving community. The planned start date for the work is within about 10 days from if this is awarded, and the period of performance is 510 calendar days, which would put the completion in October 24, 2022.
Questions for Dawn? Commissioner Mejia?
No questions at this time. Thank you.
Commissioner Edwards?
Again, a long time coming, no questions though.
Okay, thank you. I don't have any either. Entertain a motion.
I would move to award the contract for the Solid Waste Facilities Supervisory Control and Data Acquisition System Upgrade. That's CP number 91726 to Northeast Electric LLC of Woodland, Washington for a total amount of $1,015,746.73, and to authorize the Director of Public Works to execute the contract and any change orders for this project due to unforeseen conditions only, not for changes in scope, up to 10% of the contract price, $101,574, or an aggregate of $1,117,321.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Call for the vote.
Commissioner Mejia,
Aye.
Commissioner Edwards,
Aye.
Commissioner Menzer,
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Dawn.
Thank you.
Item 8A, letter of intent for the Atrium 3000 Pacific Avenue.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioners. Let me take you back. And this is related to when the Board of County Commissioners approved putting a ballot measure in front of the voters. The approval was late 2019 to place it on a special election on April 2020, asking the voters to support the construction of a new courthouse complex. Leading to that conversation on a planning session in January 2019, the board started discussing what a Plan B will be in the event the voters will not approve this particular measure. In that conversation, one of the high-level conversations included leasing space outside of the courthouse campus. So moving on to leading to April 2020, the pandemic hit. The Board of County Commissioners made the decision to take that out of the special election of April 2020. So that the asking the voters to support a new courthouse never materialized. And since the board has not taken any actions to consider putting back into the ballot measure in front of the voters. During the remainder of 2020, I think all of us got preoccupied and responded to the pandemic and continued to assess the impacts of the pandemic. So in January 2021, your first planning session, the board directed me to come up with a Plan B as to how we're going to be addressing the existing needs, space needs here at the courthouse. In early March, I provided you with a plan that included moving offices out of the courthouse campus in order to create a space here at the courthouse buildings. This plan included leasing space of the 3000 Pacific building, which is currently empty and has 90,000 square feet available space. That plan included moving offices and departments located in Building 1, which includes the Commissioner's office, CPED, planning, the assessor, the treasurer, and the auditor's office. Also moving into the proposal moving into the 3000 building included IT, human resources, and financial services. Human resources and financial services are located in Building 4 of this courthouse complex. The next leg of this plan was move offices and departments within the remaining space here at the courthouse. So the result of that the plan includes moving the prosecutor's office, both the civil and the criminal division, to the second floor of Building 1. Here's where the Board of County Commissioners office is located. And also moving the clerk's office to floor 1 of Building 1, along with pretrial services. Within the whole strategy, also moving drug court out of the current lease space into the first floor of Building 4. Also moving public defense out of Building 6 into the second floor of Building 4. And the last move on this proposal was to move the sheriff's office, the current existing administrative part of the sheriff's office, out of Building 3 into Building 5. The result of this will be the Law and Justice Center, as I call it, here at the courthouse campus. In Building 2 will be Superior Court Building. Building 3 will be District Court Building. And that move will allow them to expand on that effort. We provided also with a financial strategy as to how we're going to be mitigating the cost of the additional lease expenses on the 3000 building, and that was presented to you. As well, we presented an alternative, a financial alternative as to how we're going to be mitigating the needs here at the courthouse campus, both upgrading some of the existing systems, they certainly needs repair and updated, as well as accommodating some of the tenant improvements to meet the plan that I provided to you. You had a couple of conversations on this, a couple of briefings follow up, and the majority of the board provided direction for me to continue the conversation on this item, on this proposal. So there's two parallel tracks. One is getting to the 3,000 building. We have met with the owner, and this is the item for your proposal, and I will walk you through in the details here in a minute. The other parallel track is we're going to be bringing you a request for proposals for you to issue to secure the services of an architect that's going to help us to implement the plan here at the courthouse, both. Identifying the needed upgrades on all the buildings, as well as accommodating the tenant improvements that might be needed, they will be needed to accommodate the moves. So the item before you is related to the 3000 Pacific Avenue. This is a letter of intent. This is not a lease document. So in this letter of intent, identifies the building location, the premises, the use. The lease concerns also, it speaks about the initial lease terms, which is 7 years, with the options to renew the lease for 2 and 5 years. Identifies a base rate of $17.50 per square foot, with an additional increase of 50 cents in the other years. Identifies operational expenses, and I provided to you this information since Commissioner Menser requested this additional information was the triple net operating expenses will be included. I provided this to you, and I changed the language from this morning just to make sure, and you have a copy of that. As opposed to describing all the different activities, I just added to see the attachment that I submitted to you this morning. Some of the changes also included was the owner identified and confirmed that we have 276 parking spaces. I believe I addressed that this morning as well. And for your consideration today is for you to authorize the letter of intent and authorize the county manager to sign such document. Any questions?
Okay, call for questions. I'm sure there'll also be discussion when and if there's a motion on the floor, but are there questions about the item, the material presented by the county manager? Start with Commissioner Mejia.
Yes, I do have questions. I guess these questions are more for Robin, since they're more on the financial aspect of it. So we're setting money aside for tenant improvements. Do we have a number of how much we're setting for improvements here and how much we're setting for improvements on Mottman?
So the amount that we're setting aside for improvements on the campus and Mottman combined will be no more than $50 million, because that's how much we can afford in REIT 1. We will be capable of making bond payments on $50 million.
Does that include the improvements on Mottman as well?
Yes, it would. That needs to include everything.
And then my next question, Ramiro, you mentioned that an architect would be hired for this. Would that go out for an RFP?
Yes, you will see an item for you to authorize issuing a request for proposals.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Edwards?
Yes. If this letter of intent is authorized to be signed by the county manager, roughly it's going to commit about $30 million over the next 7 years. And I might point out that during a Rasmussen study that we commissioned several years ago, the biggest issue was the location and parking at that point in time. And now this new information that Mr. Pettit brings forward, I don't know if there's some exceptions in here somewhere, but it looks to me like we're going to be having about half the parking that we currently have. And we're going to be unless ingress and egress is changed from that parking lot down there, we're going to have terrible parking lot traffic jams And I just think that this is a hurried issue that was not included in the comp plan. And the reason it would be in the comp plan is to prevent hurried issues like this taking place. So I'd like to move to postpone this until we get more information. Now, I realize that would take a second to make that happen, but I think this whole thing is premature and it is a big mistake. I would hate to have my name associated with a $30 million boondoggle. That's kind of where I'm at on this.
I'd like to ask the county manager about that last statement about not the last statement, but an earlier statement about having half the parking we currently have. My understanding is that we'll have all the parking we currently have, plus 276 spots at 3000 Pacific. I'm not understanding the concept of half the parking we have now.
Sir, I don't have all the numbers laid out, but it was 330 spaces, I think, yesterday. And then today, it's, what were we down to?
276.
276 today. So, I mean, the ball keeps moving. And I don't think we have any stationary hard facts that we could explain this to the public, that here we are, we haven't committed basically anything to doing maintenance here at the courthouse where we're at. And we're gonna just move out, we're gonna run this place down, move out, and run somewhere else. I know the intentions are good, but I just think it is a terrible mistake to do that, and it's premature. We don't know what the workforce is gonna look like a year from now. We don't know how many people are gonna be working from home. We've got some kind of a study going on, but we don't have any results back. And those folks, we might have an empty building sitting down there. I just hate to see something like that happen with the taxpayers' money. So I hate to beat a dead horse, but I am very concerned about this move.
You're muted, Commissioner Menzer. You're on mute.
Oops, okay. I guess we're kind of into discussion at this point, so I'll just gravitate into discussion. This is not, I mean, I keep hearing that we're running our buildings down, and my understanding of this plan is that it's an investment of millions and millions of dollars into these buildings. This plan doesn't work without, it's redoubling down and creating a law and justice center with the adequate amount of space and maintenance upgrades that we haven't been able to do because of without a clear plan as to where we were headed with building a new courthouse or continuing to use these buildings. So now that we have some decisions, now that we can make some decisions, we can do exactly what you and some of the citizens out there are concerned about, which is making the right investments in the buildings that we have. This is not about making better space. It's about creating more space. You know, when I heard the criticisms I heard from the public when we were trying to put forward a proposal on financing a new courthouse was that, you know, don't build a new building, use existing buildings. Not necessarily these buildings, but a large contingent in the community did not want us building new buildings. They wanted us to use existing space. We heard about the mall. We heard about, you know, leasing other kinds of buildings. We heard about the buildings downtown. Check that box. Continue to use the buildings that you have and make the best use of them you can. This plan invests in these buildings and turns them into a law and justice center for at least the medium term use of the county. And then don't increase our taxes. Find a way to do it within your existing means without a property tax increase. So this plan is 100% responsive to the criticisms I heard during the very long, drawn-out process of promoting a potential new facility for county business. It's the result of multiple planning sessions, so I don't feel that, you know, the only thing hasty about it is that when we went out, I mean, there was clearly only one option to solve this problem within our existing means and check all those boxes. and it was to lease alternative space for administration. And we asked, and we had a survey done by professionals who came back and said, this is your only option available. I mean, we could sit on our hands and wait for a new building to open up at some point, but in terms of wanting to solve a problem here in the near term, this was the only option. And so there are details to work out, and we will work through them. We have no choice but to work through them. Is it free to create 90,000 more square feet of additional administration space? No, it's not free. Is there a general fund impact? Yes, there is. But the alternative of asking for a tax increase to finance it separate from REIT funds and general fund was not palatable to certain members of the board, certain members of the public. We've gotten a very positive response from the elected officials and other department directors who we've worked with on going through how this might work for their different groups. I've heard nothing but positivity, high level at least. There's always devil in the details, but those are things that we'll work through. And then, my final point is just to reemphasize, because I hear it again and again, and I don't understand it. This plan commits us to a multi-million-dollar investment in our current facilities. These buildings that we're sitting in, our courthouse, buildings 1, 2, and 3, will be upgraded, invested in, and continue to be purposed for county business. And they're going to be used productively because we're going to create a little bit of wiggle room in them by leasing some alternative space. There is no other answer to this problem short of building, new building. And that's not a choice that the board seems ready to make at this point. So I guess that's where I'm at. There's always going to be naysayers, but I feel like we've been 100% responsive to the criticisms that we've heard, and we've looked at what viable options we have. And you're arguing that we don't have enough parking, but we're going to have empty buildings because everyone's teleworking. I mean, right now we don't have 280 parking spaces dedicated for employees. The study that we did that the county manager referred to was when we were looking at how much to build in our new parking garage that was proposed for the new courthouse, and 194 spaces were identified. And as Ramiro said, we've got more transit access, we've got more, and we're separating. Keep in mind here, we are separating administration from court. So the entirety of the parking lot that we have now is going to be available only for court business, which is going to basically be like I don't know what the ratio of court business to administration business is in the current usage of our parking lot, but let's just say it's 50-50. We're effectively doubling our parking for court. And then we're creating 276 more spaces for just for what would be needed for building 1. So I'm not seeing that the parking is an issue. So anyway.
Could I follow up on that, sir?
Yeah.
I would point out that for over a year now, we've had an empty parking lot out here. And so we have lots of parking because we're doing things differently now. And I contend that this COVID-19 is going to change the way we do work. We bought all of our employees that were able to work from home equipment so they could work from home. They can continue to work from home. They're working from home right now. That's why our parking lot is empty. And I believe that it's going to stay that way. We don't know what's going to happen with COVID-19. To do this right in the middle of a COVID-19 issue, when we're having different variants get developed, and this is going to be devastating to this group or that group, there are so many unknowns, and we're able to function just fine. We finally do have a lot of parking. But if we did need to lease some space right up here on the hill, over near the area where we've rented space for our courts so we could maintain social distancing, in that same area, there's plenty of more space. There's a lot more space yet to rent up here on the hill. And I will commend this developer that bought this building down there at 3000 Pacific Avenue and redid it. He did a good job. It's very nice. I just don't think that it's necessary at this point in time, and that's why I keep saying it's premature. We don't know what's going to happen in the future. And for us to make this move when all of our employees are all equipped now to work from home, looks like it's going to stay that way, even though we get the virus in everybody's arm and we get ahead of this thing at some point. Many, many people, private industry is seeing this on a regular basis. We've got empty space all around Western Washington. I know specifically we need it here in the capital city, and there's plenty of empty space here in Olympia. So I just think that it's premature and we're jumping the gun by moving ahead, and I don't want my name associated with this type of a deal. And that's kind of where I'm at. I think I've brought common sense to the board, and I want to keep it there. That's where I'm going. Thank you.
Commissioner Mejia.
Can I do a follow-up to that? So I've heard 2 points from Commissioner Edwards in regards to parking. First, that parking spaces, first, that it won't be enough parking spaces, and second, it's going to be an empty parking lot. And which one is it? Is there going to be a empty parking lot, or is it going to be not enough parking? And in regards to other buildings, we did a study. We asked our realtor to go out and give us all the options, and we did the search, and there wasn't really any other options out there that could really fit the needs that, where all the administrative offices could go. And it wasn't only for us. I mean, it was for the auditor. We've done searches for the sheriff as well. And there hasn't really been a space that can really fit the needs of what we need going forward. Is it the best option? No, but I think we need to do something. And I feel like, this is, I was speaking with Prosecutor Thunheim, and he said, oh, this issue is coming all the way back around again. He said in 1997, it was discussed about moving the administrative buildings out. And the commissioners at that time decided not to. They said they wanted to stay here, and yet did nothing. They did nothing to either repair the buildings. They did nothing to follow through. And we're now in this situation again where it's come full circle, and we're here again saying, well, what should we do? And we have the option of $50 million to repair this building, which to me is a priority. We need to repair the building where we're at. I completely agree with that. But also a situation where we can actually look into the future and see what we need and have the space we need. And we can't keep sitting on our hands anymore. We can't keep pushing the bucket down the line. And this issue has been discussed while I've been an employee here, and I'll be full on clear. I wasn't really in support of a new courthouse. I was kind of scared, and that was me as an employee. But now we have this option here where we're seeing that we have the space needs and all of this coming down, and we just can't keep saying, well, we have to wait, we have to wait, we have to wait. We've been waiting since 1997, and we've gotten nowhere. And at this time, I don't know, it's how long we can keep holding up.
Chair, could I respond to that, sir?
Go ahead. Yep.
I guess the question about, is it empty parking or full parking? That's a good question. And the reality is, we don't know. We just don't know. If we go back to normal, then it's not enough parking. But if we stay as something unusual, the way we are today, then we have adequate parking for it. But we also have adequate parking here. And there are a lot of things that we could do in between. We just spent $5 million on the county auditor buying a building, or did we make that final?
It's not there yet, Commissioner.
Not there yet.
Yeah,
But
don't jump on that one yet.
We're spending, we've got an intent to make that purchase of $5 million to solve some of that office space need. So I do think, do we have all the answers? No, we don't. But boy, I don't think we ought to go off prematurely and do this. I can't emphasize enough. It reminds me of when we bought the fish plant, not we, this current board, it was a past board that bought that, and it sat empty for 16 years. And we took a real beating on it by the time it was all done. And this is akin to that, only it's a lot more money. And I just don't see a need. We have other options. This is kind of like a Taj Mahal. The gentleman that fixed it up did a heck of a job. I will give him credit. It is nice. But it's not what we need today without knowing what the workforce is going to look like. We just don't know. And why would we want to go into a venture like this when we don't know if the parking lot's going to be full or empty? We just don't know. So that's kind of my brief
One thing we know,
explanation.
one thing we know is that the county hasn't had enough space for a really long time. The space needs study, I keep going back to, for district court 7 years ago, said it had half of the space that it needed. So we're like 25 years past needing more space, and the population, so not only do we have that, but we also have a population projection from TRPC that shows that we're going to grow by 40% in the next 18 years. So that's really all I need to hear. We're 25 years behind catching up with our space needs to begin with, and we're going to explode by another 40%. I guarantee we're going to be able to use this space. And I completely take issue with calling this a Taj Mahal or trying to characterize this as some sort of an extravagant solution. This is a scaled back, modest, reasonable, responsive to the public's concerns type of proposal to get our basic needs met for county government. The Taj Mahal was on the ballot for April 2020, and the board, so to speak, and the board pulled it back. And even that is a very inflammatory characterization. But compared to that, this is nothing of the sort. And so I object to that characterization of this proposal. This is being modest, reasonable, judicious with resources, reinvesting in the buildings and the assets that we have, leasing space if things don't work out. Yeah, we have to invest some up front, but we have flexibility there. That's part of not building a new building and kind of hedging our bets a little bit about what the medium term holds for Thurston County and our needs. Okay, so I think Commissioner Edwards and I have been debating this for the last 2.5 years, and we are where we are on this. And is there a motion to approve this letter of intent?
Commissioner, point of order. Point of order, Commissioner.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Edwards requested whether he'd like to delay this.
I would like to know the cost of a delay. What's it going to cost if we delay this for a couple more weeks? At least get some more information. We don't even know if the parking information is right. We were supplied that. It changed from 330 yesterday. Now it's down to 276. We've got some information from a citizen says it isn't even legal to do what we're doing somehow. I don't know how that fits in. What's it hurt to wait another 2 weeks to see what's going to pan out here? Get a few more facts. And I want all the facts, not just some of the facts, but the good facts and bad facts. And I just don't see the rush on doing this. That's all. So I made a motion to continue this for a couple weeks, but I realize it takes a second.
Is there a second to Commissioner Edwards' motion?
Can we discuss it? Do I have a second to discuss it?
No, I think at this point, would you like to second that motion?
So I have to second to discuss? Is that the procedure? Okay, I'll second for discussion.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. And okay, Commissioner Mejia, discussion.
So, I mean, Robin or Ramiro, are we on a deadline to submit the letter of intent? I know we have deadlines on, when we would like to be in the building if possible. If we delay this, is there a consequence to that?
Well, it's more for the owner in the county. We had a kickoff meeting on Friday where the owner laid out in his team a schedule for the next 7 weeks, how we can materialize this. So the owner needs an assurance from the county, and perhaps that's the sense of urgency.
Robin and/or Ramiro, as our county manager and assistant county manager, and you both have multiple roles, have the questions and concerns you have heard from commissioners, citizens, staff, are any of them fatal or create a situation where you do not feel it's prudent for the board to move forward with this letter of intent? I'm gonna put you on the spot.
Certainly, thank you for that. I don't believe so, Commissioner. I believe this is a plan that we provided to you. The only option that we need to create additional space is to lease a space. When the board asked us to look other options, as Commissioner Mejia stated, yeah, there are some square footage available here at the courthouse. Even at the owner, I believe Commissioner Ed was asked that question, and it was not enough to accommodate a holistic move as we stated. Then the question would have been, with 25,000, 30,000 square feet of office available, what office will move and what elements will move? So, and we went through that process in many occasions when we provided those options to you. And this seems to be the only available bid in the building that will allow us to do that move and create the space as I stated in the plan that I proposed. I know the parking continues to be a conversation I laid out this morning before you. The architect who made that the analysis of the existing needs when they were looking at the courthouse included 65 parking stalls for the public and 195 parking spots for the administration and everything else. So this meets that existing needs as a result of the study. I'm not coming up with those numbers. That was part of the study the architect did. Related to Commissioner Edwards, it does make a point as to how that will be the telecommuting in the long term is going to have an effect. I'd like to remind the board, the staff brought an item for the board to consider to authorize us to go through a study as to how telecommuting will affect the space needs. The board unanimously declined that offer because we were tracking as to how we needed to make it, maybe assessing the needs of the courthouse or the space related to telecommuting. Related to the information that Mr. Pettit provided today on the Olympia City Code, I don't know, I can attest to the fact, the only thing I can tell you is this building was occupied by government offices, by the State Patrol, by the Liquor Control, and never was in violation of the city code. Particularly, this building is over 30 years old, and it was built on a different code and the standards at that time. So even this courthouse, if we apply the current code the city of Olympia has, doesn't meet that requirement because this building was built in 1976 or 78, I believe. So circle back to your question, commissioners. I believe every single question and concerns that we have received, we have addressed that. Whether there's a fatal flaw, there's always a risk on anything the county does. There's always a risk in anything the board may do. The staff is bringing the options to you for you to consider, and I believe we have addressed all the comments and concerns that we have received so far.
Can I pipe in here?
Go ahead, Commissioner.
If we sign, I guess this would be a question for the county manager, if we sign today, for an example, or give the authority and you sign, can we cancel that without cost or without incurring legal jeopardy?
That's a good question because this letter of intent is not binding, legally binding document, it's not. The lease document that will come later in the year is the actual lease document that will bind financially to the county. But this provides an assurance to the owner that the county is serious about moving forward.
Well, I can tell we're serious about doing something.
Well, I don't know about that.
But I don't know if we're serious about going ahead with one individual. I mean, I can understand his concern. I do have a question when it comes to the comp plan. None of this stuff shows up in the comp plan that we put together in December of last year, other than I do think, we're talking about we might be able to bond out $50 million to do a remodel or something like that, but there's nothing really in the comp plan that allows for this type of expenditure, I don't think, and that's never really been explained. It seems like I always hear, well, if it's not in the comp plan, we can't do it. And that's if we're interested in doing something. So how does that fit?
Yeah, this issue has been brought up in the past, and I provided a response, Commissioner. And the response is we're in the process of amending the capital facilities plan to introduce this, to add this item. The Planning Commission already held a public hearing on that amendment last week and received no public testimony against it.
Okay.
And we are planning to have hold a public hearing for you to consider amending the capital facilities plan on June 22nd. And those are the steps that we need to address. So yes, the project is not included in the capital facilities plan. We're taking the steps to ensure that is the case.
So can I stop real quick? Could I ask that whoever's in control of the camera, turn the camera so that the county manager is included?
At least that I can. Sorry,
Like,
I'm off the frame.
You're out of the frame. I got a lot of space next to Commissioner Edwards. If we could just swivel it left a little bit, I think we could get everybody.
Yeah, we're coming.
So while the camera's adjusted, if I could just make a point of clarification.
Yes.
The Planning Commission reviewed the item last week and set a public hearing.
Sorry.
So there will be a public hearing of the Planning Commission. It's coming up.
Thank you. So my staying corrected, but we're in the process of amending the comp plan,
Back,
the capital facilities plan.
a little too far. Now you don't get,
I'll move over here if that'll help. I'll go over close to Commissioner Mejia.
There
I
we
like
go.
her even though we're arguing.
There you go. Thank you. So yes, we have addressed the comp plan question, Commissioner.
Okay, good. I just don't see the rush. I really don't see it. And I don't know that that's going to solve the problem, but waiting, I mean, why did we buy all that equipment for all these people if we weren't going to have them work from home? Boy, private industry is really looking towards having their employees work from home now. I see tax laws getting changed and everything else due to that. I just hate to make this decision at this point in time. We're right in the middle of a virus, right in the middle of it. We don't know if it's coming or going. And, at 1 minute, we're doubling up on our masks, and then we're talking about taking them off, getting shots, which I'd encourage you to get your shot while we're doing this argument. We'll all stand to do better, us old people anyway.
That will be get vaccinated, right?
okay, so let's focus this in and get this item moved along one way or the other. So we have a motion, it's been seconded, and I'll call for the vote on Commissioner Edwards' motion.
Can I amend it? I would be open to delaying for putting this item on for next week. That way we can confer with Elizabeth if needed about this. But any longer than that.
On discussion, could I follow up on something Commissioner Mejia just said?
Okay, is there a second for Commissioner?
Oh, yeah, I would, yep, I'd second that.
Okay, so now discussion on that amended motion.
Okay, I'd like to hear from Elizabeth myself, but You know, to be honest with you, I don't understand how come we haven't had council here in the middle of these discussions all the way along to give us, that's the way I look to council for guidance. So I don't know what the deal is, but I do think that it wouldn't hurt to have legal counsel available to us more often than it is. That's all. I'll just put it that way. Maybe the virus has got us so mixed up. Sometimes we don't know if we're coming or going. We do make some adjustments. Working under the gun all the time, and I will commend staff for working under these adverse conditions. Anyway,
Okay.
Could I ask a question?
Yes.
If the board agrees to delay this, help me understand, what do you want from Elizabeth to provide a perspective? As I see the document, and again, it's a letter of intent.
So-
It recites the terms and conditions. So help me understand so I can prepare Elizabeth to get that.
I have one question that I would like answered, is with the letter of intent, if we were to submit it and then something were to happen, and we withdraw from it, would there be any consequence, any legal consequence to that?
Obviously, I'm not an attorney, but this is not a binding document, because we're not committing to any financial, it's just committing to a process, to a project. But you know, speaking of the risk, and this is just my perspective, we can touch base with Elizabeth, is with this letter of intent, the owner is going to start investing on an architect, and start investing time, and they're going to start investing on making all the tenant improvements and designs of this building to meet the needs of the next tenants. Whether we walk away halfway through that, I don't know if the owner will ask the county to reimburse for those expenses. I can probably see that risk.
So yeah, that's kind of the question I want. And it's something I can meet with Elizabeth on my own if it's something, I don't mind doing that.
Okay, so,
well,
yeah, Commissioner Edwards, do you have anything?
yeah, I want to add to that question that Commissioner Mejia brought. I've had counsel tell me in meetings in the past that, well, she can't give legal advice in the middle of a meeting, which I don't understand. What are they doing here if they're not giving us legal advice? Okay, that being one thing, and maybe that means she has to go study it, or the council has to go study it, and I can understand that. But I'll tell you why I'm so nervous about council giving advice is last year, I don't know, right around this time of the year, 3 commissioners were removed from office as county commissioners in Eastern Washington. And I've been told by others that had they had legal advice, on the record even, that it wouldn't have been so harshly judged upon them if they took an action that council had said, oh, you're okay, that's fine, yep, you can do that. I don't know all the legal ins and outs, but I don't want to be one of those 3 commissioners that are removed from office, because come to find out, I did something I should not have done. I don't have the expertise, I guess, to feel confident about the ins and outs of the legal system. And of those 3 commissioners, I think 1 remained out of office, 1 retired, and 1 got reelected. I don't want to have to go through that. I want to make sure that whatever we do is always legal. And if that means asking for legal advice during a meeting, and she says, well, I can't give you legal advice during a meeting, well, okay, go study it and give us legal advice. I want to make sure that I'm never violating the law. That's what I'm all about. I want to do the right thing every time. Not most of the time, every time. It's just like I want all of the information, pro and con, before we'll make good public policy. So I'm fine with postponing this week as the amendment reflects.
So we have 2 and perhaps 3 votes to take. So I'm going to call for the vote on Commissioner Mejia's amendment to Commissioner Edwards' motion. We're going to vote on whether or not we want to amend the motion to be a 1-week delay of consideration of this item. I'll call for the vote on that.
Commissioner Mejia,
Aye.
Commissioner Edwards,
Aye.
Commissioner Menzer,
Aye. That motion carries. So now we have Commissioner Edwards' underlying motion as amended to now delay this, to actually approve the motion to delay by a week. And I'll call for the vote on that.
Commissioner Mejia,
Aye.
Commissioner Edwards,
Aye.
Commissioner Menzer,
Nay. That motion carries 2-1. And this item is, we don't need to take a third vote based on that outcome. The item will be on next week's proposed agenda for discussion. Is that track, County Manager?
Yep, thank you.
Okay, very good. Let's go to item 8B, which is American Rescue Plan funding acceptance.
Thank you, Commissioners. As you, all of us are aware, in the country as a whole, the American Rescue Plan was signed into law back in March 2021. And within that, significant rescue plan included direct allocation to local governments. And this direct allocation is coming from the Department of the Treasury at the federal level directly to Thurston County. We learned yesterday that allocation is going to be issued to Thurston County in 2 installments. The overall allocation based on population, I believe, is close to $56 million, thereabouts, for Thurston County in 2 installments. One will be this year, and the second installment will be 12 months after we approve or we get into a certification with the federal government. So this particular item before you is for you to consider to apply and accept the coronavirus relief fund of $28,216,606. That will be the first installment, and designate the county manager as the authorized representative of Thurston County to accept the money. Robin, like to add anything else?
County Manager, are you open for questions?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, go ahead.
You know, I saw a motion earlier.
Is on your agenda?
Okay, let me make sure I get the right one.
Item 8B.
8B.
No, let's see. It just got shuffled around here. I know it's here. It's because I saw it. Yep, got it. Got it, right here. $28 million, got it. Thank you. You made me move around up here, so I lost my place amongst all my stuff. Chair, I am prepared to make a motion, sir.
Okay, let's hear that.
I would move to apply for and accept the coronavirus state and local fiscal recovery funds in the amount of $28,216,606 and designate the county manager as the authorized representative for Thurston County.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
No, sir.
Hearing none, I'll call for the vote.
Aye.
Commissioner Edwards,
Aye.
Commissioner Menzer,
Aye, motion passes unanimously. Okay, we're winding down. We're 10 minutes behind our start time for the Board of Health meeting, so maybe the commissioners can keep their reports succinct in terms of what you've been up to the last week.
I can give my report at the Commissioners' check-in this Thursday.
Okay, Commissioner Edwards?
Yep, I'll do the same.
All right. I spent the most of the last week in Spokane for Wasatch business, so Not a lot to report either. County manager, item 8D.
Yeah, let me walk you through quickly through your combined schedule. Soon after you're done with this meeting, you will convene the Board of Health meeting. Tomorrow, you have a long session. It started at noon, all the way to 4:30. That will be related to the Budget Amendment 1. And that will be a continuation of the previous conversations. And by the way, we'll be providing lunch tomorrow, so it will be a working lunch. Just to, I heard last time.
Thank you.
So Thursday, May 17th, you have your regular South Sound Military Communities Partnership Elected Officials Council. There will be a Zoom meeting. And at 9 o'clock, you have a budget work session that's related to the 2022-2023 biennial budget. Go ahead.
We are going to cancel the Thursday morning budget meeting.
So that is canceled.
Thursday morning.
My apologies. And then 10 o'clock, you have your commissioners check-in, and I will put an agenda 24 hours in advance. 11:30, you have a briefing related to the community-driven review of agricultural policies and programs. Nothing on your combined schedule Friday, May 14th. Monday, May 17th at noon, you have your regular Washington State Association of Counties virtual assembly. And on Tuesday, May 18th, you will convene back again in this room at 9 in the morning where you have your regular agenda setting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, County Manager. It's 3:42. We'll take about 5 minutes and then reconvene for Board of Health on a separate Zoom. For this meeting, we are adjourned.
Thank you, sir.